Okay. ThinkGenetic is a GPS for genetics. It's focused on helping patients discover what kind of genetic condition they might have, if they have one, and then getting them through the treatment process. That's why we call it GPS. That basically once they have some idea that it might be genetic, then we want to make sure they get the appropriate treatment, get tested, and ultimately get some relief from whatever the condition might be, if it exists. Well, generally what they do is they know something's wrong, and it's usually the mother, interestingly enough, and they will start Googling for answers. So they will often be already seeing a doctor. The doctor will be diagnosing certain symptoms, but they're not really looking for a genetic condition. If it didn't show up on the prenatal screening panel, then they're treating what they see. And if they're not experts in genetic diseases, then the mom's saying, well, that's not the right answer. I don't know what it is, but something's wrong. And I hear this over and over again. So they start Googling for answers. And what we want to be is that resource when they get to ThinkGenetic, they start getting accurate answers. And we walk them through. The site is built with the patient in mind, not medical professionals, to help them discover what's going on. So they have some answers. Yes, actually the symptom matcher, which we've just announced, it's basically in beta now, gives you a presentation of the body and says, point to the parts of the body that you're interested in and tell me what you see, what you know, what you've been told. And as you pick body parts, the diagnosis codes have all been translated to plain English. So one of my favorites is, if you can't have a bowel movement, it says can't poop. So you basically choose that. And as you choose things, it sorts through the genetic conditions, asking you more questions, and eventually it'll get it down to a manageable number of possibilities. And then it will start asking you stories that patients have written about that particular condition. So it's still, we won't tell you what the condition is, but we'll say, excuse me, does this sound like you? And if it does, then you'll choose somewhat like me, a lot like me, not at all like me. We'll go through several stories, and then based on that, we will then rank the diseases based on a confidence level, and basically tell you what the diseases are and let you learn more and give you information to take to your genetic counselor, your doctor, whomever, to say, we think it might be genetic, and here's what you need to do about it. That's where Watson comes in. They basically ask questions in a conversational mode. So things like with Fabry disease, they might ask the question, if we move to, let's say, a teenager, they know they have something, but they don't know what to tell their coach about, can somebody with Fabry participate in sports? Well, they can, but they overheat. So when they overheat, because they don't sweat, they have to stop. And so that's a problem. If you're trying to run sprints at the end of practice or something else, they overheat, they have to stop. So what do I tell the coach about this kid? He's not lazy, he's not quitting, he just has to stop. He's got to recover from what he has or get replacement therapy. So those are the kind of questions that you can ask ThinkGenetic, and ThinkGenetic will say, this is what you need to tell your coach. Here's some information you can take to the coach if you want, and it'll also prompt you for additional questions. So it's having a conversation with you, much as the genetic counselor would.